exposing how polarized this nation is right now? Are we more divided than we've ever been recently?
I think a lot of it's because the news, if you watch Fox News and you watch the right-wing news or you watch the left-wing news, the two are completely different countries. There's two different stories.
I respect other people's opinions, backgrounds, point of view, which should be a lively conversation, a civilized conversation. That is not the case. It's a very polarizing conversation. I've heard of families splitting up because of one side voting for the other. It shouldn't be that way, but it is.
It's just horrifying, and it's in my own family as well. And we've gotten so that we just can't talk about it. We can't bring it up in order to even be together in the same room.
I do think the internet has left us more polarized and more divided than ever. We know that the algorithms that drive the internet, they thrive on difference. They thrive on polarization. So as wild and extreme as you can get on your website of people disagreeing will drive the advertising dollars that will be needed to sustain it. And it's become a beast we can't control anymore.
We do not allow ourselves to understand that there are more than one answer, right or wrong, and that everybody can have their own view. And now we seem to label each other by our view, and they just can't fathom that somebody else has a different view and that they have to be wrong and we have to be right. And I think social media is part of this to blame.
I'd say most people my age are pretty addicted to social media, and they probably spend several hours a day on it, just looking at mindless content, nothing that's gonna improve their life.
The internet, the cell phones, social media has ruined communication. People don't talk to each other anymore. They don't write letters. They do these texts, which are devoid of emotion. It's taken humanity out of communication.
I can't go on the web and find a plan from a policymaker that says, this is what we're going to do to solve this problem that we all know we have.
What the left would say is that there are structural barriers and that there is government intervention that's required in order to prevent somebody from being in that circumstance, like where they might have debt and they can't get out of it. Whereas Republicans would say, that's on the person. And that very disagreement is at the heart of many of the debates that both parties have. And quite frankly, we are at such a crossroads that many Americans are frustrated with the entire system, including both of the parties.
The majority of Americans don't make enough money to cover some of the basic costs of living.
60% of Americans can't meet a minimum quality of life standards.
It's rooted in idealism, and the problem with idealism is that it's idyllic. Everybody's a winner, everybody comes out on top, and that's just not true. It feels like in a way that the system is kind of designed for certain people to fail so that, a few percentage can succeed.
It used to be that someone like your grandfather, a janitor, could have a home, but when you watch the turnover of the profit machine, do you help them rebuild a life? Do you care about your neighbors? Or do you say, well, I'm doing well and that's their problem?
It was very easy for corporations to sell out their workforce to a cheaper labor force. And the CEO can unload 10,000 workers and take the work to whether it's China or some other developing nation.
Some of it does come down to personal choices. We're going to have to support those companies that are good to the people who work in, the hospitals that do the right thing and pay people a fair wage, the schools where teachers make a good salary. And I would argue, just because it's my craft, it's the thing I really care about and think a lot about. I think we're going to have to find a formula that supports local journalism as community service.
Across the country, there are deserts of news. Local newspapers print fewer pages less frequently, and in some cases, collapse entirely.
I do think that the failure of American journalism is that we weren't listening. And I think that has everything to do with the way people don't feel they can trust journalism anymore. Fair enough. We have a huge responsibility. My brothers and sisters have a huge responsibility for that. But I hope we can convince them that those old standards that we had, and one of those models is community-supported news, is to go back to the idea that if the community is going to use this as their trusted source, then the community's got to get behind it.
News Gazette Media has said they're shutting down the papers because they're no longer profitable.
When you have what we call a news desert, we know three things factually, discernibly, through research. One, polarization. Communities become more and more polarized. Two, voter participation plummets. People don't even know who to vote for anymore because no one's telling them who the candidates are. And the last one is banks. Their bond ratings on those communities that no longer have a news organization drop. And that becomes a spiral that even further stresses out the community and pulls it even further apart.
I guess you have to wonder, in a world where no one under a certain income level can even dream of owning a home, where communities have been decimated, private equity is buying and shutting down local newspapers and even town halls, what will they go after next? Unfortunately, I found the answer to that question was way too close to home.